Anyway, I'll tell you tonight. Jimmy's made me an offer.
All right. Well, you stay away, please.
So I've just jumped forward to May just to see if this helps your recollection.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy's made me an offer, you say?
Yes.
Do you recall what that offer was in May of 2018?
No.
Is it the same as the offer, or at least suggestion, back in 2017 of a possible board position? Or
I can't recall what it was.
Is it possibly some other offer?
I can't recall what it is.
But at least at this point in time, in 2018, you're looking for something to go to, is that right?
Yes, we were having discussions, yes.
And in the call that I played to you of February of 2018, you talked about not wanting to be backed in a corner. Do you remember hearing that?
Yes.
What did you mean by not wanting to be backed in a corner?
I can't recall. I can't.
Do you want to just reflect on that? Why would you be concerned about being backed into a corner? You're saying that in the context of the various hard work you're doing to get things off the line, get things over the line, and things of that kind.
I can't recall why I used that term and phrase. I have a recollection of the term and phrase, but I just can't recall that.
Is it right to say that in your communications with Ms Berejiklian around that point in time, by which I mean February 2018 and going forward for the next couple of months, you were at least keeping her informed as to the kinds of things that you were thinking about? Is that right?
Yes.
From the call, at least as I heard it, she's in effect saying to you, look, this is a matter for you to work out what you're going to do.
Yes, right? Yes.
There was never any suggestion of any financial intermingling of your financial affairs between you and Ms Berejiklian, is that right?
That's right.
But at that point in time, had you made clear to her that you're intending to resign at the next election? Or was that still up in the air, at least, as between you and her? Can you remember?
I can't remember clearly when I told her it was happening. I can't be clear about that.
In relation to communications with Ms Berejiklian around that time, by which I mean in 2018, when you're trying to set yourself up to make sure you're not going to nothing, did you take a similar approach to what you and I have already discussed? Namely, you gave her some information, at least in a general way, but there was a line at which you would not give her too much by way of details. Is that
My
fair?
best recollection would be yes.
And is that for the same reason you explained before, namely you didn't want to put her in a position where you were trying to avoid her being put in a difficult position where she might be aware of matters that might be the subject of some criticism of her or some requirement that she should take some action?
I'd call it burden her with detail, yeah.
Well, was it just about burdening with detail, or was it a concern that you might be doing things that might result in some criticism and you wanted to limit the way and the extent to which you were fixing it with knowledge?
Not with UWE.
Well, what about with anything around that point in time?
I think the biggest issue on my mind was the UWE problem around that time. I can't be sure of the dates, but I mean that was just huge. That I think it was the issue that was revolving and was the priority at the time.
When you're referring to the UWE issue, do you mean the circumstances in which you were suggesting you might go to China to deal with the concern about Bright Food Group?
That's what I'm referring to, and I can't recall the dates and things.
Well, can I help you this way? That's in 2017 rather than in 2018.
Yes,
that you're principally engaged in that activity.
And from then on, UWE had challenges, I'm quite sure, relating to the non-payment, accounting. There was a whole raft of things. I still think that was the priority.
UWE was the priority, at least in your mind, is that what you're saying?
Saving them, keeping them operating, that was my priority, yes.
But you were looking at a series of possible options in terms of what to go to in your future career, is that right?
I was thinking about that, yes.
And to the extent that you held things back from Ms Berejiklian, are you saying that's because you didn't want to burden her with the detail?
And because there was nothing that I can recall of any substance. It was merely hypothetical and talk.
And so can I assist you here? 15th of February 2018, 6356
Is that
exhibit
3rd of May 18?
332. I'm so sorry?
Is that 3rd of May 18 one and an exhibit?
Yes, it is. It's exhibit number 334.
Thank you.
I go back to February. I'm sorry to jump around, but
It's okay.
the connected topics. 15th of February 2018, 6356, which is exhibit 332.
So you're going to get a meeting from a request from Sanedo as well. They're owed 20 million by Norsk, and they want to be bidders on the. They want to be bidders because they've got to get their money back, and but they need trees, and they can't survive without them. So nobody will invest because you can't get the raw materials. So you'll have jobs go down in Albury too. Anyway, so we're working on that. Apart from that, things are good. I introduced my little friend to them, and they were talking when I left them, which is good news. You know my little friend?
Not really. Don't worry.
You do.
I don't need to know. Which little friend are you talking about?
With the polished head. And so he was down there. I introduced him, which was good. You don't need to know what for, but it's good. They're all frustrated still with planning. So absolutely frustrated. Still no decisions.
Who was the friend with the polished head?
Oh, it would have been Joe.
You'd introduced Joe to Ms Berejiklian before, is that right?
She already knew Joe from my recollection.
Why were you using code in that call, in the sense of not referring to Joe or Mr Alha, referring to your little friend with the polished head?
Oh, I don't know. I don't recall why.
Why did you say that you were meeting with your friend with the polished head, but you don't need to know what for?
To keep information from her.
Why?
On a need-to-know basis.
But why would you only do it on a need-to-know basis?
I want to burden her with any details she didn't need to know.
Or is that the reason you didn't want to burden her with additional details, or were you concerned that you didn't want to fix her with information that might require her to take some action, or might lead her to some criticism?
I just didn't feel that she needed to know.
But I'm trying to understand why. I'm sorry.
Well, my best recollection, or my answer to you, is that there were things happening, as you know, around the place. I just didn't think she needed to know whatever it was we were talking about. It didn't need to be said.
So you're saying that the reason you used words of that kind was that you didn't want to burden with detail, as opposed to didn't want to burden her with information that might not reflect well on you or perhaps her?
I'd suggest her that wouldn't reflect well on her.
That was at least one aspect of why you drew the line at the amount of information that you would tell her, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
You were concerned that some of what you were doing might reflect badly on her, is that right?
It could, possible.
Not just in this area, but in the other things that you and I have discussed over the last couple of days. Do you agree?
Yes.
Can we go, please, to Exhibit 265, which is volume 16, page 116. We've had a little bit of a diversion, but I'm going to come back to the Smart West matter.
Nice.
And I'm going to show you a file note taken by Dr. Hill, then the CEO of the Greater Sydney Commission, 12th of March 2018. And then just before that comes up, I take it you've got a recollection of that meeting?
Very vague. I don't even know where it occurred, that meeting.
You at least recall that you were present and Ms Waterhouse was present, correct?
I have a vague recollection of that meeting, terribly vague.
Is that under that vague recollection, do you recall Ms Waterhouse being present at the meeting as well?
I really can't recall where that meeting was held, which office, but I'd agree that Miss Waterhouse may have been there, yes.
And Dr. Hill was present, you remember that?
I guess, yes. I don't... Yes, she would have been present, of course.
And some other government officials are present as well, is that right?
Yes.
Do you agree that you made it clear during the course of that meeting that you were making representations on behalf of and was supporting the position of Ms Waterhouse?
I can't remember how the meeting actually developed and evolved. I can't even remember who chaired the meeting. The details are really scant in my mind.
Do you at least recall that it was a meeting that you wanted to be convened for the purposes of promoting Ms Waterhouse's position in relation to the Smart West site?
Yes, that I'd approached the Minister about and Mr Souter, that's correct.
And you made it clear during the course of the meeting that you were being supportive of Ms Waterhouse's position, is that right?
I can't recall what I made clear at that meeting.
Did you tell anyone at the meeting, or perhaps in advance of it, or perhaps afterwards, that you had hoped that in the event that Ms Waterhouse was able to obtain appropriate investment in relation to her site, that you would obtain some profit in relation to that matter?
No.
Can we go, please, to volume 16, page 116, exhibit 265. What I'm showing you here is a note that was taken by Dr Hill in relation to the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You see there's a series of participants who are there identified, including you.
Yes.
If we then just turn the page, just have a look at the subject matter summary document. Initially advised, purpose was to brief Daryl Maguire on Western Sydney City deal. Do you see that there?
Yes.
Purpose on arrival was to provide Louise Waterhouse with an opportunity to seek her family's landholding change from metropolitan rural lands to investigation area in the Greater Sydney Region Plan and Western City District Plan. Do you see that there?
Yes.
Is that consistent with your recollection as to how the meeting played out? In other words, the initial purpose was a more general briefing of yours, whereas you took the opportunity to seek to provide Ms Waterhouse with an opportunity of the kind that's there identified.
I can't recall how that meeting was arranged or who arranged that meeting. I can't be clear that I arranged that meeting.
Well, you at least procured it to occur, didn't you, in the sense that you made a request which ultimately led to the meeting?
I made a request, but normally when you make a request, that the Greater Sydney Commission or the person or the department would ask who's attending the meeting and basically call for a brief from the Minister or one of their staff about so they could prepare.
But you at least agree that what you were seeking to achieve by way of a meeting with the Greater Sydney Commission was an opportunity for Ms Waterhouse to make representations that might assist at least the planning issue that you and I have discussed so far.
I agree, but the issue for me is I don't understand, or I can't be clear about who arranged the meeting and provided the details to the Sydney Planning Commission about who would actually be there. I would suggest that it would be Mr Souter and or the Minister's office in some way, shape or form. I can't recall that I asked the Commission to come and meet individually.
And so you, in effect, saying that the issue that's being raised there under the summary heading, the idea that the initial purpose might have changed as compared with the final purpose, that might not have been you that caused that issue of confusion. Is that really what
I'm suggesting that because a meeting such as that would have needed the initiative, I'd suggest, of the Minister or a PLO or a policy officer, not from my office. And the departments always ask, who's going to be there? What's the purpose? They always bring a brief. They're always well prepared. They're very professional about what they do. I can't for the life of me think that they would have come unprepared or that the purpose for the meeting had changed.
Was it at least fair to say that, at least so far as you were concerned, the purpose of the meeting was the one summarised in the second sentence under subject matter bracket summary?
Yes.
And that's why you were involved in procuring the meeting at which Ms Waterhouse would be able to attend. Is that right?
Yes.
At least one of the reasons you procured that meeting was the hope that in due course some profits might flow to you. Do you agree?
Yes.
And you wouldn't have, but for that profit motive, you wouldn't have taken the steps that you took to cause this meeting to take place.
And the 30 or 40 residents. Yes, that's right.
That was a factor, but if that was the only factor, you wouldn't have bothered to engage in this level of involvement in procuring this meeting. Do you agree?
I'd say I may have.
You may have, at least in relation to this meeting. Is that right?
Yes.
But in relation to Smart West generally, and we've now gone through it in some detail, you're not suggesting, are you, that you would have taken but for that profit motive, you would have taken every step that you in fact took of assistance to Ms Waterhouse and to Mr Leong?
No.